Richard?
Hey, how are you doing?
Oh, good, man. What's going on with you?
Just in the process of switching cell phone providers from AT&T to Mint Mobile, even though Mint Mobile is owned by AT&T.
Oh, really? I didn't know Mint was under AT&T. Mint is owned by
Ryan
Ryan Reynolds. Yeah.
Yeah, AT&T bought Mint a while ago.
What?
Which seems illegal, right? That's one of the most illegal things I think has happened is AT&T, the one cell phone provider, and then Mint Mobile, the one competitor, and AT&T just buys them, thereby, I assume, recreating the market monopoly, which I don't know why. I don't know why none of that is like challenged or delayed or like just outright illegal.
Yeah, monopolies are not good.
Because
very bad for the economy.
Like it's weird when like there's still like a massive savings with Mint Mobile. Like with Mint Mobile, like you have to pay like in blocks of 3 months, but for two phone numbers, unlimited data, I would pay $90 for 3 months for two phone numbers. And then with AT&T, I pay like $70 a month for like 8 gigs or something, and one of the numbers only has like 3 gigs. But it's weird when like shouldn't, if AT&T buys Mint and Mint is like 50% savings or more, shouldn't every AT&T company just automatically be switched to Mint and thus save like 50% of their bill? Like why would there be like a company that charges too much owns another company that charges like a fair amount? It's such a weird thing to have exist. Like, and then to like not make it easy to change between them. Like it's so hard to get away from AT&T. I had to spend like 20 minutes trying to find my account number from AT&T because that's like the number that's needed to switch. And so they obviously don't want you to find it. So you have to like call them physically.
Huh. Never really thought about all that. Yeah, I did read before that monopolies are really bad for the economy.
Yeah,
we need to have competition.
Yeah, right now, like today, I guess the FTC, whatever that in America is, a big like government organization, Fair Trade Commission, maybe that's what it stands for. They're suing Amazon because they think Amazon is like a monopoly that is like anti-competitive and prevents competitors. And then actually, like ongoing right now is a trial that is saying like it's like an antitrust trial for Google. But that's not in the news because Google asked the judge to keep the trial private, even though it's like a public court thing. So like the public should obviously like see the evidence and the whole trial, probably on video taking place. But Google just asked the judge, can we just keep everything private so we don't? And literally they said, let's keep it private so that our image, like our good corporate image, doesn't get dirtied by all the things that are going to be revealed in this trial about how we sent emails that are like anti-competitive and stuff. And the judge is just like, okay. So then there's all these articles about how like Google is currently being challenged as like this monopolistic antitrust entity, and nobody is hearing anything about it because it's all happening behind closed doors. And people are saying like the only way that you can follow the trial is if you go to the Seattle courthouse in person and stand there physically. And then if it's a private session, you still have to wait outside the courtroom with the doors closed. You can't see anything that's going on. And then randomly, without any notice, they'll open the doors and then they'll resume the trial within like a minute. And if the doors are open, you can go in and watch it, but only the parts that the doors are open for. And they don't tell you when the doors are going to open. And some days the doors are just closed all day and nobody can get in, but you just have to wait there indefinitely. And that's the only way that you can see like the testimony and the evidence that is being presented about whether or not Google acquired its power in like an anti-competitive way, which I thought we already knew they did, but I guess that hadn't been proven yet. So that's kind of, I don't know, that's all kind of like scary that are we even past a point where like the courts just don't have the power to even like conduct a trial in a fair way with these companies that have amassed so much power? And the question is like, have they amassed too much power? And like they control whether or not the trial is private, which should not be under their control. I think they have too much power, you know, like it's kind of I feel like we're in such an unstable position currently with everything.
Yeah, scary.
Other than that, I don't know. I'm playing a video game. I'm playing one of these video games that I've played before. It's called Valheim. It's a pretty chill
Cool.
game. You basically like run around. It's got a big world. You run around in the forest. You can kind of like you can actually like hunt deer with like a bow and arrow. That's one thing you can do to like get the meat, because then you cook and eat the meat to get power in the game. And that's just like a small part of the game, is this hunting animals or whatever. And it's kind of like a side thing. Like it just uh, you can hunt like boar or deer to get like meat basically in the early game. And it's actually kind of fun. Like you have to hunt enough of them to build like a bow. Like you have to get the pelts before you can build a bow, and then bow makes hunting easier. And I'm actually playing it with no map for the first time, because it's such a big world and it's a forest, and there's different places in the world that you kind of have to like navigate to. And usually you have a map that just shows you where to go, but there's like this optional play mode where you can have no map. And it's pretty cool because if you run too far away from like a place where you want to be, then you actually get lost pretty fast, just like the real woods. If you don't put down some kind of marker for yourself or stay oriented, then you actually have to like start a new game just to find out where some stuff is, because I got lost in the woods basically, which is kind of a cool thing in a game.
You never found your way back.
Yeah, I'd have to just
Damn.
like run. I'd have to just like, run back and forth and like search like an area to try to find it basically.
Did your character get hungry or thirsty and die if it doesn't
They'll
replenish
get low
itself?
health. If you don't eat anything, you'll have like 50 in health, and you could be like one-shotted by like boars will attack you or enemies will attack you, and so you could be pretty weak and they'd kill you. But you won't like starve to death. And then if you eat food, you get like temporarily more health for like a certain time while your food is being like eaten. And also you get more stamina. So there's like a sprint button where you can run faster, and you'll be able to do that for longer depending on there's different food that will give you more stamina basically. So the food's kind of
Brave.
just like a buff. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes you sleep and you get cold and you gotta stay warm. It's like real life survival.
Yeah, that's part of it too. Yeah. You'll get cold if you go into the snowy mountains, and then you have to have like a fire to stay warm, or eventually you have to kill some wolves to get their pelts to build like a coat that will keep you warm in the mountains. And there's like a day night cycle, and you could sleep through the night if you build like a shelter with a bed and a fire. You can sleep in a bed and skip the night, because during the night there's just low lighting, so it's harder to see.
Sounds like a great game. That's PC, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it came out during COVID, which it got really popular because it was a multiplayer game during COVID that was kind of about being in the woods. And of course, like everybody during quarantine, they wanted to be like outside in nature. And it really delivers that feeling of running around outside in nature and sailing. And then also it was like, you could have like 4 people on voice chat running around in this world. And so it really created it gave you the social experience, and it gave you like being in nature. So the release was luckily well timed. And also it's a pretty solid game.
What I would give to go back before COVID, knowing what I know now. Oh my
You'd be
god.
so prepared for COVID.
I would be filthy rich.
Just on that
Go.
one, there was that like one day where like the stock dipped and then went back up. Anyone who wanted to could have doubled their money, just knowing that one day where the dip in the recovery happened.
Yeah. Well, let's just say you don't know the future. Some people are saying that it was all planned out.
Yeah, I sort of wonder because, like, the Senate in America will inject money into the stock market. These, like, recovery acts, and they could be like a couple $1 trillion. Like a single bill could sign into law that, like, trillions of dollars will be given to businesses to re-stimulate the economy. And, like, before that bill gets signed and passed, everyone thinks there's going to be a recession, and then as soon as it gets signed, the stock market just bounces back because everyone knows, the money's coming. But there's like, there's like the Senate or whatever, the Congress people, and the Congress people are the ones that they know exactly when the vote is going to be, and they basically know in advance, like, if the vote is going to pass or not, especially if they're like a majority party. And so I was kind of thinking that, like one of them had said that, these bills and these votes, it's all public knowledge, and so you could align your trades with the public knowledge that this bill is in consideration and here's the details. But, like, it's like a 10,000 page bill, and it's all confusing. But, like, I feel like the Congress people, they know the effect the bill is going to have, and they can intentionally delay it if they want until the economy plummets. And so, like, if they want to withhold it, they can, and the economy will suffer because they withhold it, and then they do their trades, and then they agree to vote, like, after the market plummets, and then they pass the vote, and they know, like, it's going to bounce back, like, of course. And, like, that is their job, is to do exactly that, to pass that bill. And so of course they're read into the situation. But, like, imagine trying to follow that with a full-time job ourselves, like, just constantly trying to keep up to date with, like, the status of this bill, and, like, congressmen are talking with each other behind closed doors, like in their party meetings. So, like, of course we can't, like, theoretically we could follow it if, like, we just, like, camped outside like the Congress thing, and, like, watched every minute and read all the news. But, like, they do have secret information that we don't know, and they do, like, they can just manipulate stuff just by accident almost. And so I feel like that's unfair.
It's not by accident.
Yeah.
They know exactly when they put their money in, want to pull out. I've heard about this, but this isn't the first time I heard about this. So what you're saying, it resonates with me.
I feel like it's technically, like, it can be done clearly because it is technically legal. Like, they're not, I guess it's technically not considered insider trading. In order to make it illegal, we would have to pass a law that says, like, if your job is congressman, you can't hold more than a certain amount of stock. Because actually there is a law that says, so there's a law apparently that says if you're in Congress, you can't have a second job that earns you more than $30,000 a year. But that does not cover income from, like, rental properties or the stock market. And so there's articles that show that, like, tons of congressmen are earning, like, over $1 million a year in, like rental properties. And, like, one of them owns, like, one of their wives owns, like, the Empire State Building and a bunch of other properties, and makes more than, like, $1 million a year in, like, rental income. And I guess that is, like, a conflict of interest, because they are the ones that would, in theory, be responsible for, like, passing laws that govern the price of rent. And if they're making, like, 10x their salary in rent, then they're not going to pass those laws. And so then we're never going to have, like, a law that removes the conflict of interest in these kind of things.
Yup. Yeah, and real estate and the stock market, when done properly, when you know what you're doing, that's for the wealthy, that's for the rich. So I'm just reading about that now. We middle class and poor, poor has been forced out of the housing market probably forever. But we've been forced out of real estate, fucking especially in Canada. Like, to actually grow a portfolio. I was reading Rich Dad Poor Dad, and then his other book there, and he's talking about real estate, and it's like, well, when you look at Canada and what the prices are and what the rent is, and we can't trust the fucking government because they said they're not going to hike up the interest rates like they did, and they're going to continue to hike it up because guess what? Inflation isn't going down. And I just saw the stock market just like complete dump. Like I should have sold everything before it dropped, and I didn't. I'm learning. I didn't clue in, so I don't know if it's because it's in anticipation of the rates are going up, but people are pulling their money out of the stock market. I don't know if they're trying to pay off their mortgages. That might be it, because if interest rates are going up, good luck trying to get a return greater than 8%. I mean, what is it right now? Like 7 something? 7.4?
What is this?
7?
What rate is that?
Like the interest rates for mortgages, interest rates.
Oh, for a mortguage, yeah. So
because I got
guess you want those
disc.
to be, you want those to be low.
Because like I got a discount on mine. Work some magic with my broker there, but if their interest rates are going to keep going up and up and up, as soon as people heard that, like, I guess they're pulling their money out of the stock market, anticipating there's going to be a panic or people are going to pull out, which is the smart thing to do, which means that they pulled out some of my fucking money, and they're putting it now against their mortgages because, like, the market isn't performing. So it seems like the stock market and the interest rates are intimately entwined. I just came to that realization a couple days ago as I learned more about the stock market, and I'm paying attention to money. And what was I getting at with that? Yeah, as I see the housing market, like, people are already strapped for cash. Most people are strapped for cash already. There's power of sales everywhere. It's not obvious because you don't see it. It's not listed as a power of sale or a foreclosure in the States. And I'm looking at what it costs to buy a house in Oakville or Mississauga, and everything's over $1 million. And the rules are, if you have a mortgage of $1 million plus, you need 20% down. So you need $200,000. You need $200,000 to get a house in this area. That is more.
Yeah.
That is more money than, I'm sorry, middle class is able to save for.
That's basically what a house should cost in total, 200,000.
Yeah.
That shouldn't be like the down payment.
Yeah. So it's like, I got fortunate, and I got into the market before it doubled, and my condos are not worth $1 million. But I mean, I didn't know detaches were going to go that high. I would have invested in them. I didn't realize you could turn them into duplexes and do all this stuff. No one taught me this stuff, right? I should have read Rich Dad Poor Dad 20 years ago, frankly, because that's when it was relevant. Now, when you look at the stock market, the real estate market, the barrier of entry is too high. So if you are fortunate enough to get a mortgage on $1 million home, and you put it down 20%, $200,000, your fucking mortgage is going to be $7,000 a month when you add in property tax. $7,000 a month. And you times that by 12, that's crazy. 84,000 a year after tax to afford $1 million home. That's one home. Now, unless you duplex it or add a third unit and you Airbnb the shit out of it, and you know exactly what you're doing, you're not breaking even. So if you do long-term rental, you're fucked. Right off the bat, you're fucked. You're not going to get the rates. $1 million homes are going for, in Oakville, they're going for $5,550 or $5,500 long-term rental. So, and if you're having to pay for your place, the $2,000 plus insurance, and the fucking AC goes down, you gotta cut the grass, whatever else, that's a liability. And if you have to pay for your property $2,000 a month for your liability, I mean, that adds up. that means that when the banks look at you, they're like, well, fuck this guy. He's hemorrhaging money. So if you have one liability, you might be able to handle it. But you get two, and you got no buying power. You get three, you're crippled. Especially if the interest rates goes up, and you have to get rid of shit because you can't afford it. So real estate is not. It is not a way to grow your wealth for the middle class anymore, unless you're able to find really, really, really good deals. You can get a piece of land, an acreage, that has lots of trees on it, and find someone that's interested in buying a piece of that with the house, and then you cut that land and you take the other piece of the land. But now there are laws, rules that are preventing that. All the things that people were doing to make money in real estate, it's being stopped. Now that's what I've heard. I've never experienced it firsthand, but that's what I've gathered, that the splitting of farmland is being prevented. Farmland or acreages, whatever.
Oh yeah.
So, like, how are you making money in real estate as middle class? So, like, I'm thinking commercial now. So, commercial, when you go to loan money, yeah, sure, you could have some money in it yourself, but the bank doesn't look at you anymore. They don't look at investing in you. They look at investing in that rental. So they look at what the current rental income is for that commercial property. And if you can do some green updates, like change the windows out or update the HVAC for 100,000, I don't know how much it is, you'll get some money back from the government. Like, it's a way to incentivize people to become more green, use less power or less energy.
Yeah.
So the bank looks at you as, not at you, but it looks at the actual building instead of you. When you buy a house, a home, whatever, they look at you. Can you pay them back? They look at you as the investment. And that's the difference. Commercial is different. And maybe commercial is sort of like the final area that middle class could look at. So it's shitty, man. And what that means is that we're forced into the stock market. And a lot of us don't know what the fuck we're doing with the stock market. I'm dibbling and dabbling in individual stocks, and I'm realizing very quickly there's a lot of up and down with a lot of companies, and it's all dependent upon their earnings and if they're going to expand, if they're cutting employees. So you got to follow your business. You got to really focus, and you got to like be on them and kind of predict, right? And there's also like a psychology component. It's like 90% psychology. So what you could do is, this is something I believe in from video games. I see the stock market, I see money, the world of money as a game. And I just said this recently to my partner, that like in my video game, Elder Scrolls Online, okay, you want to be meta, you want to be the best, right? There are certain sets of armor. It takes 5 pieces, and then you got to upgrade it, and you got to trade it all out, like give it certain traits. And there's 2 sets of armor that you can have on your character, and there's like 1,000 different sets. You could spend your entire life for each patch going through each combination to see what does the most damage. And then there's the next patch, and then it changes, and then it changes the next patch, and it changes the next patch. So if you try to do it by yourself, you'll never be meta. You might come across a good set here or there and spend lots of money upgrading it, but you'll probably underperform the metas. The way to become meta is you get testers, people that use like some sort of beta platform where they have everything fully upgraded just given to them, and they test out the stuff. And they run through the sets that are the most appealing. Like they're rated, and they I don't know, some sort of ranking based off of the damage that they do or the perks that they have. And then they do dummy hump, as they call it. They go on a dummy that simulates a trial where you go the buffs, and they have analytics. They hump the dummy, as they call it, and at the end of the humping, they get the damage per second. And sometimes it's 90, sometimes it's 100, sometimes it's 110, which is crazy numbers. And the only way you're going to get 90 plus, unless you're super lucky, is to follow these guys, watch their videos, and do exactly what they do. And guess what, Richard? Same shit exists in the stock market. Day traders. There's a guy named Fred Trading. Fuck, I just butchered his name. I almost beer. Fred Trading, and he wanted to build a community, sort of as a as an entrepreneur. He has a education background. He's gone to school for it all, and he lives in Dubai now, and he's just stupid rich. And part of his business is, it's not that he's doing this out of the goodness of his heart. When you refer people to a trading platform, you make some money back, especially if they put a lot of money in or make a lot of money on the platform. So he gets some money if you link to that platform through him. So there's a little bit of an incentive for him to do that. And all he has to do is what he does. Originally it was him, and then he got a team. And what they do 7 days a week is they analyze the market. And he basically is like, okay, this is where the market's going. These are the stocks that I recommend. Follow me. Do what I do. I'm going all in on this and this and this. He's like, if you follow me, you'll gain. He guarantees it. He makes money by doing it. He has a team that does analytics for you and for him that he pays. And he sits in Dubai and has his pina coladas and drives his fucking flying cars and good on him, right? Like, he's a day trader. He figured it out. You get a team to do the work for you. It's his business. That's brilliant. I love it. In addition, though, he's like, follow me, make money, and it's automated. Like, it's easy. You don't need to think. But he's also offered a course over 6 days to teach you the different signs of the market, so you know what's going on, so you have a better understanding. So just like the video game, this stuff exists in real life. In the game that is money. There's risk, though. I mean, do you trust this person, or is he going to scam you? I mean, this guy has a reputation, 15,000 plus. It keeps growing. When I first looked at him, he was 5,000. Now he's 15,000. He's verified 5-star. Like, he's gold. I just hope that he stays alive. Dude, seriously, I need to get on this. Yeah. I've been trying to create the bandwidth. I'm moving all my money over from the banks to Wealthsimple. They offer a 4%. Now, I mean, it's probably because interest rates are so bloody high, but they offer 4%, no limit. So even with interest rates dropping, when they do drop, they're always going to offer you minimum 4% to hold on to your money. Banks offer you nothing. Okay, Tangerine offers 5 point something for a little bit, and then there's EQ that offers something.
I was going to mention that interest rate on holding money. Interest rates for like holding money are potentially good right now. Like, yeah, banks are doing nothing, but like my stock investing app, Robinhood, it offers like 4.9%. And that number has been climbing. I think it'll stay at 4.9%, not go any higher. But yeah, rounded basically 5% is, if you go Robinhood, or like, I guess this Canadian perhaps wealth management app is doing 4%, which is still like super high. And I think actually that may be a reason why the stock market is dropping, because if people are getting 4% just for holding cash, then they have an incentive. Like, I sold some of my stocks just so I could hold 4%, like hold cash and get that 4 or 5%.
You
so
fucker,
that does...
You're one of them.
Yeah, I know, that's what I mean.
Money,
like,
you son of a bitch.
Yeah, I actually took a loss on one of my stocks, hoping to then make back the loss by just holding the cash.
Yeah, I've lost.
Yeah.
I'm a loser. I held on to losers hold on to their losers, and they cut their winnings. They cut their winners. I'm trying to be a winner, which cuts the losers and rides the winners, but I haven't got to ride any winners, man. I've been in this market and it's been just a little bit up, and I'm like, okay, I don't want to cut because I want to try to get some gains and then plummet up and then plummet up and then plummet. Like it's been just a fuck, man. I don't know. The peaks
I
are
would still
pretty intense.
I don't know. I would still maintain that it's impossible. Like the more someone tries to time things correctly, the worse they do. And the winning strategy is just buy and then hold long term. And like,
Yeah.
never sell the ones that drop. And like if the market is doing well, then slowly sell only to gain back like a 10% of your portfolio as cash.
So
Uh,
yeah, like I, I was checking out whether or not you do what was it? Averaging, cost averaging. Apparently, overall, it's better just to go full in. Cost averaging is not where you're going to get the gains from. I was quite surprised to hear that. That's playing
Yeah,
it
I guess
safe.
I think maybe the cost averaging is just like, you take like $100 from every paycheck and you buy instead
Yeah.
of, because then the alternative would be like wait until you have a bulk amount and then make one purchase. But if your money's coming in from like your employer over time, then you might as well buy over time. And then the money's
Yeah.
all in it, in the end anyway.
There's the wealthy barber there. He's like average. You just go with the average growth of the market. You don't try to beat it because most of the time you'll underperform. And so far, that's been my experience. And I was sort of like, huh, this guy's giving me solid gold, average of the market, just right on. So do what everybody else does. Mutual funds. Wait a minute, maybe EFTs, whatever they're called. EFTs? Yeah, I always screw
I
up
think so,
that
yeah.
one. But mutual funds, like, they have a high cost. And I had some mutual funds that were, I guess, well managed. No, they probably would have plummeted. I just transferred it over to my trading platform to lower the cost because it's 2% plus in order to manage mine.
Yeah.
And in 3 years, I've only lost 2K. Or no, in 3 years, instead of gaining any money, I've lost. So I was just like, I don't know if I like these funds. The market's just been very bad. I mean, might be just a good idea to pull out entirely and take the safe um, interest rate. Maybe the old wisdom of paying down your mortgage first is coming back because interest rates are going up. At least pay it until they go back down. I don't know. I don't know what to do. And it's not that I don't know what to do because I lack knowledge. It's like I have a good enough understanding. I just don't know where things are going. I expect interest rates to continue to go up, which then makes me want to pay off my mortgage. But then if they go up, and then what happens if they suddenly drop? And now interest rate is now 3%. And I just put all my fucking money into my mortgage. So
Yeah, I
Wealthy
would
Barber
say
was like, huh?
I would have to assume paying the mortgage at any point is always the priority, I would think.
That's old knowledge. That's back when interest rates were 18, 20%. You'll never get that in the stock market unless you're some sort of genius and can predict the future. So that's old wisdom. That's an old wisdom, old financial wisdom is a liability. It will cost you. Just like, save your money. Saving your money, no. Don't save your money. Grow your money actively. If you save your money and you're just sitting collecting like a shit interest, then you're not going to do well. See, this is different though. We have trading platforms that are offering 4 to 5%. Banks, since when do banks offer that? It's rare. I mean, EQ and Tangerine, I don't know, they don't have any brick and mortar, right? They're just virtual. So maybe they can do that. But looking at Robert's work, your money in the bank is not, they don't want your money. And that's weird to say that, because like them having your money means that now they need to pay you for that money. And the fact that they offer a shit interest rate is criminal, but they rather, I forget this piece now. This is not in their best interest to have your money. They would rather loan you money, which then comes from somewhere else, but they want to loan you money so that they make interest. And that liability to you, your mortgage payments, is really their asset. So, fuck, I'm starting to think maybe I should get into the mortgage business.
That may have been the 2008 boom. Like, banks were just handing out mortgages like constantly, and then a bunch of people were like investing in property and mortgages, and it created this huge like financial swell of like it was so easy to get a mortgage, and then basically then one person pulls out and they all pull out, and then it just collapses.
It blew up because people were given mortgages when they actually couldn't afford them. I just learned today there's a company called Moody's, and they're responsible for rating banks. I think Moody's is sort of like a software developer. That's where my partner works. And yeah, they rate. So they were rating C. If I'm saying it right, C lenders as B lenders or something. Like they were inflating too much. They were allowing people that should not have got mortgages, that should not have gotten a mortgage, and then too many people just were defaulting because they couldn't pay it. So they were partly responsible for the 2008 crash. Interesting times. I mean, we were in RMC then. I never even knew that happened. My head was so far up my ass that I didn't know what was going on in the world. I didn't give a shit about any of that.
There's another asset called bonds, and a bond, I guess, apparently is like you
Government.
hold the bond, and it represents like you've loaned money to someone else. I think you can lend money to the government, get a bond, or you can lend money to anyone, any company or anybody, and get a bond. And there's like a yield, like the bond pays an interest rate, but there's a risk that it won't be paid back. If the person goes bankrupt, they'll never pay back. So that's the risk, I guess, with bonds. But people say that actually, like they say you should hold like some stock and some bonds and then balance your portfolio, bonds being higher risk so you could have like less of them.
No. Bonds are only higher risk if it's like an unstable country you're buying in. So stocks are always higher because they're linked to the companies, and there's so many variables with them. Bonds, if your country is safe and incredible, are more safe than stocks. But if you play safe, you're not going to get the gains. So yeah, I hear you. Like I don't know if this decade is probably better to be bonds than it is stocks, because I don't know if it was 2000, 2010, that whole decade was shit for stocks. Just shit. It was all about the bonds. Like, you would take a loss for 10 years. Like, fuck that. I mean, that kills your retirement plan. And here I just went full risk for my RRSPs. I figured, fuck it. RRSPs, I want to cash out by the time I retire anyway. All that's going to get taxed to hell, so I don't give a fuck if it's $1 million or not. Because at the end of the day, I'm probably just going to take the cash. Because, I can probably pull out... Well, I want to leave... No, because if I want to leave it for my next generation, they're going to tax it down the middle. Like, take out half right away. And then that just immediately kills all my wealth. I have to find a way to shelter the wealth, and RRSP is not the way. So the 20-something thousand I have in it, I don't give a fuck about. It's honestly, the only reason why I have RRSPs at this stage in the game is because of the government forcing me to take it. They're like, oh, well, we have from relocating and you didn't sell your place in BC, so you get $10,000 and it has to go into RRSP, has to. Or if you want your lump sum, the full amount on tax, all of it has to go into your RRSP, and you have to prove it. So it's like, that's the only reason why I have RRSP, man, because I'm forced to put my money in there. Because I'd rather have it go in there and the banks look at it and be like, oh, he has 24,000, 25,000, and then consider me more credible when I want to get a mortgage. Like, that's really the only reason why I took that instead of taking the cash. Plus, it has potential to grow. But I went full 10 out of 10 risk, man. 90% stock, 8% fuck whatever, or 10% whatever else. It was like, might as well. It's either going to do really well or it's going to be fucking nothing. Because it's like, by the time you're 65...
I guess the full risk, I think, is related to like timeline. Like, if like full risk means it'll swing either way, but then, eventually it'll swing back the other way. And then like, I think like if you take like maximum risk, but you have like 30, 40 years to wait, then I think the risk is not so insane, because no matter what happens, it'll always go up in the end. It's just a matter of how many decades you have to wait. So it's kind of good. If you can wait a long time, then go max risk.
So with my tax-free savings account, I'm not touching that either. So I got that pretty much topped out, and I put that at balanced, but at the high end of growth, so like a bit more stocks. So that's balanced, and the idea is that my tax-free savings account, I want that to grow into, something worth handing over to the next generation. And then there's also like this whole infinity banking, life insurance premium stuff, which is a vessel or tool for the wealthy, for the rich. And based off of what it pays back, like the dividends, it's just, it allows the wealthy to be able to access money for an opportunity. So if your money's tied up in a mortgage and you got to refinance, that might be too long and you might miss the opportunity. And you don't want to sit on cash because it's losing value. So, I mean, unless you got a good interest rate, which right now those trading platforms have an okay one, an okay rate. So, like, there's the infinity banking, and it's not for. I don't think it's for middle class. I think it's more for the wealthy. And there's better places to put your money for it to grow. I mean, unless you want to play it safe. If you play it safe, you're not going to grow. You got to take some risk, calculated risk, after you learn or have a good, solid financial base. You got to take risk to grow. I mean, I could have just collected a pension from Veterans Affairs Canada, which was like what, $450 a month. I decided to grab the lump sum and then make $500 a month based off of the interest from my trading platform. So I took that, and everybody's saying, "Oh, that's a bad idea. Don't take the lump sum, because if you just get the payout every month, by the time you're 65, you're gonna have double, like the amount that they give you is gonna be double." I'm like, but
every 10 years it doubles if you just put it in stock market.
But like, that's them holding on to the money, and they're basically just holding on to it, and then it's still they're actually making money off my money. So I'm like, for me, like, the only risky thing is not having a place to put that lump sum and not knowing what to do with it. But I just stumbled upon this trading platform that has, mine's at 4.5 because I reached a certain amount in it. And they can get to 5% once you get generation. So once you put $500,000 in the platform, you get 5%. So for life, it's never going to go down. It will always be 5%. So it'd be like, why would you put your money anywhere else?
I think a lot of places can do that because, like, their bet is that they can make more than 5%. Like, if they just take your money, put it in the S&P 500, they might make on average 8%. So I guess their bet is that by giving you 5%, and if they ideally they make 8%, they can do a 3% like profit, sort of as a service. But it's still good because they're like, you have a guarantee. They have they take on all the risk. I guess they make maybe 3% profit if they're lucky, but on average they will. If they have everyone's money.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a good place just to have your money sit for like a little bit. But what I've gathered is you got to actively grow your money. You could let it sit and depreciate. You can let it sit and gain some interest with a good account, excuse me. But you can also use that money for investment opportunities. And the level of risk really depends on, well, what you know and who you trust. And you're really only as good as your team. So you need advisors, specialists who are better than you, know more than you, but who also do what it is that you want to do. There's tons of self-employed advisors that will take your money, make a commission, and that's how they have their wealth. And they don't have any foothold in real estate, or they don't know any of it, right? So there's those types, but then there's types that actually do have experience and have a portfolio in real estate and can properly advise you as like a mentor. You pay for it. You gotta pay for them, and that's a good thing. Like, you want to reward them for giving you, because it's not just their service or that they're providing; they're also providing you with like invaluable wisdom and knowledge to help you grow. But if you don't have that team, you're trying to figure out everything by yourself, you will fail. And it's kind of like another example of the end game in my video game there, the end game testers. Right? It's just another example. So like, there's investors out there that have a group that will provide you with what to trade. I mean, there's also like websites that do analytics. So before I make any decision now, whenever I look at my stocks, I go to these websites and I'm like, do I hold? Do I sell? What am I missing here? What do I need to know to make a proper decision? How do I lower risk? Because when I was watching Numi just plummet, it's been spiking. It's been spiking. It goes from like 18 cents to 24 cents back to 18 cents. And when you got like several thousand like stocks with them, shares, it's a little bit of money, but it's like up and down. It's like up 20%, down 19%. Like, holy shit! Because like, what I've gathered is if you lose 7% on an investment, cut your loss because it's probably going to keep going down. But Numi just seems to keep bouncing up and down, up and down, up and down. What the sites are saying is it's expected to go to 80 cents, which is pretty good for a penny stock. I think that's what you would call a penny stock. To go from, I bought at 25 cents to go to 80 cents, that's a pretty good return. I think there's a chance I can go to $1. That's really, really good, right? That's 5 times. But when is it going to do it? When is it going to jump up that much? I saw a report saying Numi is now focusing on generating cash. They've done enough expansion, enough patent people on the back. Now they're going to start selling some psychedelics. I don't know. I don't know how they're going to make money, but now they're focused on making money. Okay. Well, that's when the stock started to go up. So why did it just plummet? Is it because the interest rate announcement? Like, I don't fucking know. I don't, like, everybody's on this faster than I can even react. And that's the other thing too. Like, back in the old days, land used to be wealth. And then for a bit it was the industrial age, and industry was wealth. Or rather, production. Like, that side that's what gave wealth. And now it's information. If you have the most new, the modern, relevant information, you have wealth. And it's legit. And it's not just having information, it's knowing the so what and having that like critical thinking. Okay, America's credit rating went from AAA to AA. So what? What does it mean in the stock market? Well, people are going to lose faith in the government. They're not going to trust that their money's safe. What are they going to do? They're probably going to pull out of the market. Didn't realize that until after it happened. You know? Like, so you get these warnings, but you don't actually see them as warnings. And I think that's where, if you follow the people that do the analytics and maybe even pay a subscription, you could be saving yourself a lot of money, a lot of loss. Because you learn from your mistakes, but things are always, always changing, just like the patches in a game. They nerf one thing, they buff another to try to balance things out. Now, I don't know if things are changing in the world to balance things out, or if we're turning into an oligarchy or whatever it's called, where the conglomerates are going to rule, and it's all just money being sucked to the top, which I actually think is happening. Because every change in law or every big change that we see, like the cope during the pandemic, that was a huge exchange of wealth from poor and the middle class to the wealthy. Yeah, the government did some handouts, and the smart people, like I heard that people created corporations. People who knew about corporations created corporations, got their accounting up, said they struggled, got a $40,000 grant, took the money, started up another corporation. So those handouts, I mean, poor middle class people that don't know about corporations got fucked, because guess who's eating it all now, Richard? The taxpayers are eating it. They're getting fucked. Inflation is killing us.
The middle class, middle class gets squeezed a lot of the time.
And the poor class too. I mean, we all are producers in the way we give our energy or time to these businesses to produce value, and we get compensated for that. And it seems like, depending on how specialized we are, depends on the amount of compensation we get. So yeah, but if you're not running a business or somehow well off in the investment world, you're getting squeezed.
Yeah, because I think we get sort of taxed about the same as the highest people, and we earn like within like 2%, I'd imagine.
So like self-employed, high income individuals, let's say doctors, right? Unless they start their own business. Yeah, so the tax rate for 250,000, I mean, I'm just speaking about Ontario, Canada. Yeah, it's like close to 50%. But once you get into running your own business and you have corporations shielding you and expenses that you pay for, you can shield a lot of your income or wealth from the tax man.
Oh yeah.
So
I think even if the rates climb, they end up paying a lot, perhaps even less than. So yeah, it's like the middle class can't hide their wealth, the rich can, the poor perhaps gets a discount. Yeah, it's always like, even if it looks equal on paper, remotely fair, then the middle class, that's what I mean about getting squeezed. Like, we don't have any loopholes to jump through. We just hit the actual brunt of it, and we can't. Our money doesn't grow. We don't have enough to we don't. It's just sort of like, it's pretty annoying how that is.
There was a tax loophole.
There's not much like class trading. Like, people can't really go, like almost nobody goes from like middle class and advances to the next class. We're kind of stuck in our class.
Unless you are 1 in 100, and you can have your own business and franchise it out and expand. But being like self-employed isn't the way. Being self-employed and then selling a system is the way, and that's shown by like McDonald's and all the franchises out there that have done that. You sell the system. And I didn't have a chance to read your, was it Con Entrepreneur?
Yeah, I could summarize that. It was
Is
a
that
pretty
basic?
interesting video.
Is it basically people becoming super wealthy by selling a system that's actually kind of fraudulent or not true? So they try to
Yeah,
con people and take their money.
yeah, there was. It was an interesting thing, and I don't know if these people are actually becoming super wealthy. Possibly they're. I think they were like a smaller scam, so they might not be making that much money. But the idea was like, what if you just thought of popular book titles? Like you went on Amazon and you searched like what are the most popular books, and then you invent like a new book title based on those books, and then you hire like a cheap ghostwriter to write the book, and then you hire a cheap voice actor to like voice the book, and then you just like churn out like ebooks on Amazon. But then also you get like a group of friends which they can provide you with. They have like a private Facebook forum to like review each other's books. And so like all you're doing is just like thinking of book titles and then getting other people to write the book and other people to voice it, and then you're putting books and you're getting them reviewed on Amazon, so that you are the technical owner of all these, tens or 20 ebooks that are all possibly making money, or you're getting cash advance from like Amazon on them. And that's the it turned out like that's what these two people were actually doing. But then like Amazon got good enough at like finding these like poorly written books and taking them off sale. And so these two people, like, that scam ended, but now they sell like this course where they will teach you how to create your own ebooks in the same way they were doing. But of course, like all like they show all these books they published and whatever, and they talk about the system, but it doesn't necessarily work anymore because they've already ran the scam, and it started to like not work anymore. But now they sell they sell like a $2,000 course where they will teach you how to do it and put you in the Facebook group, and they have like all
Exactly.
these like these fake testimonials and stuff. But it was just funny that like it was all these different scams layered in one another. Like first they give you like their free seminar, then they sell you on their course, then they sell you this like scam that previously they had been using as a scam but doesn't work anymore. And like part of the whole thing that it hinges on is buying like cheap ghostwriters. And it turns out there's a whole like other company that like what this company does is kind of a scam where they hire like ghostwriters. They hire way more ghostwriters than they have contracts for, and then they pit them all against each other to like bid the price down, so that you end up like paying this guy like $250 to write like 25,000 words, and he gets paid like a cent a word. And like so that there's all these other people being scammed into writing books for you basically. And so that's like part of the scam inside the scam is these gig workers that are like getting underpaid to write books, and like you're exploiting them to make your books to then, but you're being exploited because you're buying the course. And it's like all these different levels. But who knows, even if it's just like some people that like the author of the video just said he was getting hit by all these ads, and so he made a video about it. But who knows if it's even that successful, the scammers in general.
Oh no, they're making money. They are. It's not the first time I've seen something like that. I've like basically most of the Facebook ads are that,
Yeah.
and these people are trying to create systems from something that may have worked. It may still work, but a lot of them, well, the transition is from S, self-employed, to B, selling a system. So they may do it while the system still works, in order to increase their cash without having to do the work themselves. Because once they set up the system and do the advertising, it's just cha-ching. It's passive income, right? As long as they'll check once in a while to see if their product needs to be updated. So there's the con entrepreneurs, And it's interesting because the guy that I'm reading, Robert Kawasaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad author, he's one of them. And but at the same time, he's inspired a lot of people to get out of their comfort zone by teaching them, good financial knowledge that they don't teach in school. I've learned a lot from him. But he talks about making his millions as a business owner doing education, financial education. But he made his millions selling Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which talks about him making millions as an entrepreneur selling financial education. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, stuff
And
is
then,
so like meta
and
and
then,
self-referential. Yeah.
and then, Rich Dad apparently doesn't even exist. There is no Rich Dad, but he talks about Rich Dad as though it's like his mentor, and he compares the Rich Dad and the Poor Dad, his friend's dad, who's the entrepreneur, and his dad, who is the highly specialized guy who got into politics, and how one is rich and the other one is poor because of their financial education. And the story's good, but that's what it is. It's a story, and there might be some truth to it, but it's not fully true. And even Robert admitted that all of his other books outside of the first one are just trying to sell his game called Cash Flow, The Rat Race. And I see it in the second book. He's pushing that book fucking hard. I mean, he's pushing that game hard. And it might be a good game. And there's lots of good knowledge in what he's saying. But one thing he said is that all financial knowledge is a liability. He wrote the one book 20 years ago. You go into the housing market now, trying to, go in guns blazing and going all in, guess what you're going to get? You're going to get a bunch of liabilities. You're just going to you're going to fail. And guess who benefits from you failing? His rich fucking ass. And that's the thing, is that people go into real estate, they take on too much, not realizing that what they're doing is actually old advice. It's a liability. Their house gets taken from them. And guess who comes in and buys that house? Robert. Are the people like Robert, people with money. So he's a con entrepreneur in my mind. And when I found that out, I went from being like high on life, figuring out I just drank from this wealth of knowledge, and I eating from the forbidden fruit. I don't know, man. Like I felt like I was fucking special. Like I had this knowledge and I had this potential to grow on like unlimited, exponentially. And then I start looking. I hear Robert for the first time on a podcast. I'm like, oh yeah, this is my idol, and fucking right on. And I'm hearing what he's saying, and I'm like, okay, this is not. He's pushing a lot of ads. Why is a guy that's worth $1 billion pushing all these ads? And then I look him up. His net worth is $100 million. Apparently, that's what he got from his one book. I mean, obviously, he spent some and he done some investments and all the other stuff, but his net worth is $100 million. And I started looking at about like how it just pops up. Rich Dad, like what he is highly controversial. And Robert's never confirmed that Rich Dad really exists. I'm like, well, fuck, this guy's making shit up. And he's not the only one. There's so many of them that are making this stuff up. Yeah. I'm starting to wonder about Dean Gazioli, whatever his name is, the guy that's paired up with.
Well, 100%. That guy, I didn't even do research on that guy, and like anything I could find on him was like he's the number one scam guy. So there's no digging involved, even just to uncover that guy.
But he's teamed up with Tony Robbins.
Yeah, Tony Robbins as well. All I've read about him is total scam, like just selling a course, like upselling, like locking people in.
And the same thing, and then Dean and Robin took on Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah, Matthew McConaughey is still unknown. it seems like Matthew McConaughey is like making a pivot away from actor, perhaps like towards like self-help guru. And but
Yeah.
also, I don't know if he'll land on self-help guru or whether we're gonna see like Matthew McConaughey trying to run for like governor or something of, I guess, Texas. And I
He
think,
has quite the following,
yeah,
10 million plus.
yeah, yeah. I think the deal was Matthew McConaughey would get followers, which will eventually help him in his political campaign, and in exchange, he'll sort of give his audience over to Tony Robbins and David, like for their purposes, basically. And I guess that was like a deal, like followers for they just exchange followers or whatever to grow their audience. They both have
Yep,
different goals, probably. Yeah.
I can see how that happened. And then at the same time, he sold a super expensive course. And then when you got on the mailing list, now Dean is pushing you this master class. Do you know
Yeah.
how much it costs to learn how to make a master class picture?
Yeah, you told me at one point. You told me at one point it was insane. It was like 5 times as expensive as I thought. Like I guessed like a couple thousand, and it was like
10,000.
10 times that. Yeah, it was like
10,000. Yeah,
it
they
was
had
5 to 10 times. Yeah.
they had the most smooth people as salesmen. The most smooth. I'm talking S rated. The best. The best.
Yeah, those salesmen I think often were previously scammed. Like one of the, like I guess once you get in there, I think at some point they might sell you an additional course to become like a salesman for their course. And then, like you basically get, if you're actually good at it, you just end up working for them, like making a commission, and the scam continues, like pulling people in and then converting a number of them to salesmen. But I don't think anyone's making a profit. I think it's just like, you're scammed so much you have no choice but to work as a salesman to make back the money you lost.
Mastermind. Like, what a name. Mastermind. Like, just master.
I feel like we
Like,
could, like in a legitimate way, I feel like we could probably write a book with a cool title that does actually like empower people in a honest way. Like, just explicitly telling people like, you don't have to be tricked if you decide not to be tricked or something, and basically write that into a book, or like using the ideas of these other con artists, like, just hire a ghostwriter for an actual, pay some guy like $2,500 to write like an actual good ghostwriter to write a book that we research and outline, and then, put a legitimate book in the Amazon store and pay someone a lot to like voice record it.
you
And then
mean
actually
AI?
AI could work. Yeah. The problem is, yeah, there's a lot of vetting going on now. Like Amazon has really slowed down the number of books they accept. So they might throw questions about that, but
Yeah. Well,
it does
there's
feel like, because it's so easy to create the scam version of a book. It's like, would it be that much harder to just make a legit book? Like that's what I'm thinking now is like, I guess I could be an author. Like if I wanted to be, I'll just, minimum, I would just hire someone to do it for me, or just if it's easier, do it myself, like, and put a book out there and just see like, or put, like put a article or something, like sort of, it just seems like so, like the difference between doing the scam version and doing the real version is so small. It's like, why not just do the real version? And then, like how much worse could that be?
like, what makes a book legit? Like, I mean, people write fucking
Yeah.
sci-fi and romance novels that none of it's true. So, like, what makes a book legit, right? So it comes down to what, a formula? Like, I don't know. And if there is a formula, if there's anything, it's the AI can do it. You just get Chat GPT 4.0 creative. All right, pay for the subscription. Okay, make me a book about that talks about all the con entrepreneurs out there and how they've made their millions and billions and what to watch out for, but also how to model after them. You put that in, fucking, can you imagine the book that it would produce? Like it should pull out all the big names. It should look at all the controversy that's out there, but it has to be connected to the internet if you want anything current. And then I know that Chat GPT 3.5 last update was September 2021. It's not connected to the internet, so I don't know what the new version is. But yeah, this is all interesting stuff. Like, anyway, so something that isn't a scam, it's creating an Amazon business account, and
the
you
affiliation.
go to wholesale, and you can charge over 100% increase from the wholesale items that you buy from Costco, and you sell them on Amazon, and they actually sell 100% plus increase, so 110, 120%, and it sells, like crazy, because I guess people don't know that Costco's a thing. When you think about it, I mean, there's a lot of Costco's out there, and Costco's ship, but I guess there's more Amazon locations, and there's places that aren't touched by Costco, and not everybody wants to pay for the Costco membership, or not everybody knows about Costco. Like I said, there you can make 100%. Well, obviously Amazon wants their storage fees. You got to buy the product up front, ship it to Amazon, and you do so like 10 at a time, unless it's wildfire, and then you do 100 at a time, and you'll make maybe 40%.
Yeah.
And Amazon will take the rest.
I wonder.
And here's
Yeah, go ahead.
You buy as a Costco executive member all the stuff from Costco using a credit card.
Oh yeah.
Costco credit card.
Yeah.
You get cash back. You get cash back. That's incredible. The only thing is I need to learn it, and I know it's there, but I have to incorporate, because doing this and not being incorporated means I'm going to get taxed pretty heavily. So I make the 40%, and then 50% of that's taken away, so I'm actually making 20%. So it's not fucking worth it. But I know it's worth it. I mean, it's just a lot of work for a measly 20%. That's fucking bullshit. Government, I fucking hate. I know we gotta pay taxes, and I know there's a benefit to taxes, but the amount that they take, just the fucking greed is blowing my mind away.
Yeah, and I feel like, like if we're making less than $1 million a year, tax should be 0, and if we're making more than $1 million, it should be like 80%. You're right, like it's like, our money should be 100% tax-free, protected until we're millionaires, and then we're all millionaires, and we can just be taxed at whatever rate, because we're not going to have less than $1 million or whatever, and that would be fair, I think, in my opinion.
I think that would stifle economic growth, my friend.
I feel like, I wonder though, could it be balanced out? Like, because there's, like, if you have one billionaire in your country and you tax them at like 99%, then, the money the government makes is like the same as if you had taxed everybody at like 50 or something like that. Probably works out as something like that.
Corporations, no borders, man. They'll just take their money elsewhere. And that's the thing, is that a billionaire is not going to not going to have that money to his name or her name. It's going to be shares in the company that they own, right? So, and then when they want to cash out the shares, they cash it out, I guess. I don't know. I'm not a billionaire, but that's
I assume
so far what I'm told how it goes. And I imagine they pay a small bit of tax on what they cash out, but then there's tax havens. So maybe they have their accounts in a Swiss bank account or something offshore. So when they actually pull out what they've earned, they pay 0 tax. Why not? I could see it being a thing. It probably is a thing.
Yeah, I've heard of. I heard the first like credit card company to sort of hack the system. Set up. They were an American company. They set up their whole thing in Ireland, and then they like invented this. The modern credit card, where like it's really hard to figure out what you're paying and what you're being charged. And that company became like super rich, but they didn't pay any tax also because they were like offshore.
Fuckers. I'm all for not paying tax if I don't need to. But yeah, what I was going to say is about that Amazon thing. Okay. So let's say I do this, and then I turn to AI and I'm like, make me a course on this. Because I asked for a course in endocrinology and lifestyle and healthy lifestyle, and it basically gave me the framework for a course that I had in my mind. I'm like, what? Seriously? Like, it actually laid it all out for me. And I was like, okay, this thing knows what it's talking about.
It can be a
I
bit
was,
descriptive. Sometimes like it'll give you accurate outline, but once you ask it for the real details, it'll be like a bit off. But it's definitely a good starting point. And then you
yeah,
can just
and
edit it yourself.
even the work that I read from one of the endocrinologists, the doctor that got me into it, his shit's off. I found now 3 critical mistakes in his work that are very bad. So, or he just didn't have the full picture because the book is kind of old, right? So that's the thing is,
Oh yeah.
if it's limited by 2 years, I mean, we learn a lot in 2 years. So like what was current then is not current now. Could be completely changed. So yeah, I mean, I gotta be careful with the 3.5 version. But I could have the AI build me a course on how to do what I'm doing in Amazon. I know how to build a course. I mean, I've been an instructor. I know how to build PowerPoints, and the only thing I don't know how to do is I actually know how to sell. It's how to market. So that's the only thing I don't know how to do. And I know Facebook is an avenue, but everybody and their dog is using Facebook marketing, so I need to figure out something else. But I could build a course on how to do this self-employed type of job. And I'm not going to promise you millions because I don't believe in getting rich quickly unless you win the lottery, which is good luck. I believe in building a financial knowledge base and, you know, learning from those that know, because success leaves trails, or rather, success leaves clues. So here's a clue. Here's what I've done. It works. Income is, when you really get going full tilt, is $100,000 a month, and it will take you 3 months to get to that point. It's a lot of work. Here's the system, and I'm pretty sure this already exists. I'm pretty sure a system like this exists. Doesn't mean I can't duplicate it and sell my own system. I might have a different variation on how to do it. It's not plagiarizing. It's not copying someone else's business. So, food
It's
for thought.
interesting though because like if you charge, it's interesting that like people will pay so much for fake stuff. But if you tell people like pay me like a reasonable amount and I will lead you on like a 3-day like meditation, hiking, like tea ceremony thing, that will leave you feeling refreshed and empowered and free to do what you want with life, which could actually be true, like they come to your place, you lead them on a hike, you tell them certain things, you give them like certain foods, and then you just empower them to actually just like feel like they are in control of their own life because everyone is. And that would be like that's like a real course, right? Like say like $300-400, like $1,500 for like to cover the expenses of the lodging or whatever. And then it actually is like it's a real, no one could poke holes in it because like it's a subjective thing that you get out of it, after the 3 days or whatever. But like it's the same as any sort of like hot yoga, meditation, like any sort of spiritual retreat. It's just like your brand of it that has whatever flavor you put into it, and people sort of know what they're getting. And it's interesting like why, that's what I want to exist. Like I would want to pay for stuff like that, that really I get out of it what I put into it and stuff like that. And I just need people to host that kind of idea, or just for me to do it basically. make a
Do it, man.
I'll
Go
do it
for it.
digitally. I would go full digital though. I'll just make like a, but for me the fascinating thing is like, can I make a video game that I give away for free that does this? And then that's the ultimate thing where like anyone can do it whenever they want for free, and maybe they can send me donations if they want or something like that. And then I've totally done it, because then everyone can access it. You know, it's this thing that lives on its own. There's no money to be made or to host it or to advertise it. It just is there for if people need it or something. And that's, I feel like I'm very tempted to do that. But actually, I guess more likely I'll make videos. Right now I'm actually working on a short YouTube video about, I went to Las Vegas a while ago on a trip and I have a bunch of video footage. And so I'm putting together like a like a sort of an abstract artsy like video about that trip. I'm just like writing the script right now basically. And that's the closest I'm doing to this idea right now, is making videos that sort of lead people on a thought journey or whatever. And they can get what they want out of those videos, and the videos are just obviously free on YouTube, and that's kind of fun. If it caught
Sounds like
on,
a
though,
great
maybe I won't go
project.
Patreon. If anybody sort of liked it, I may try to like make that as like a side job and work part-time and then do part-time like video making. But right now it's just, my goal is like put it out there for free basically.
Sounds like a great goal, man. It makes you wonder though if like becoming viral on YouTube is just not going to be a thing. I don't know. I'm wondering if there's too many people on YouTube now, where the algorithm, caters to the ones that are refined, that are mastered. I did hear from the lead programmer of the algorithm that if there is emerging talent and they're not the best, let's say, they will actually put those on the front. So like sometimes they will pick out talent, but like it just seems like being big in YouTube was before.
Yeah.
So this is the thing. It's like you have to catch the trend before it's a trend. You have to do something before everyone else is doing it in order to become big. And as soon as everybody else is doing it before there's lots of people that are big, as soon as there's a lot of people who are big, then it's too far. And it's too, like, there's too many people doing it.
Yeah, now there's kind of like people get themselves out there and they practice on YouTube, but then they have to move to like Patreon, or I see a lot of ads for a site called Nebula these days. I think there's a good number of like small creators on YouTube that make about a video a month, and they're all seem to be on this site called Nebula, where like they have their own brand of content. Some science creators are on there, and Nebula like is like a video watching service, but you pay a subscription to Nebula, but then it's just like a curated set of like YouTube videos, basically like creators that have partnered with them to make videos about once a month on their usually it's like video essays or like science documentaries or something. And that's kind of like, I guess if you got a footprint on YouTube, you could partner with Nebula. And then I think Nebula may have some kind of payment model or sponsorship thing where like you're now making a small wage, like minimum wage, to essentially work, like make a video a month in that way.
Yeah.
And it's it could be a side job or whatever.
Yeah. I think that's what Patreon does, and apparently you can put more vulgar content on there that YouTube censors out. But I don't know. I don't do it. That's just what Fluffy says.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all good stuff. Well, I mean, I appreciate the chat, and you didn't talk about your trip there.
Yeah, it was a super fun trip. Yeah, I'll talk about it next time, I guess. But yeah, I had a great time.
All right, man. Well, let's talk again soon.
Yeah, I'll see you.
Okay, bye-bye.